Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Cooking Without Kidneys, where we're here to help people who are on dialysis not just survive but thrive through food. Today we're taking a little trip to Italy and we're going to make some Shitake Arancini Balls. Now we're using shiitake mushrooms in our arancini for the simple fact is that they are lower in potassium than white mushrooms, especially white mushrooms or any others out there. Remember, potassium is the one thing that we really have to watch out for on dialysis. It can cause some major heart issues, muscle issues, some numbness, things of that nature if you have too much in your system, so you do want to watch that. This is one of the only times you'll see me working with salt and pepper. You know, normally I use Bragg's liquid amino in pretty much everything, but the salt and pepper is actually going to be used to layer the flavors, to bring out the flavor of the risotto and everything else that's going into it. So with that, let's get started. We're going to get started with our carrot puree. I have a pot over here already starting to warm up. We're using about 1 tablespoon of butter. And then we're going to add our garlic, our carrots. Now notice, I'm not even waiting for the pot to get really hot to start sweating things down. I'm just layering the flavors in there as it is. The fact is that this whole thing is just going to get slowly cooked and pureed, so that way we don't get any of the bitter of the char carrot. Okay, we want to keep everything nice and mellow. Our stock. And of course, a little bit of thyme. So because this is getting pureed, I'm not worried about chopping the thyme at all. This is just going to get blended nicely. And that's just going to sit, and we're just going to let that simmer. Now we're going to start into making our risotto for the arancini balls. So usually what would happen is if we had leftover risotto, we would just make balls, bread them, drop them into the deep fryer. We're actually going to do this from scratch today, just so that way you can show you how to make your own risotto at home. Risotto is an arborio rice. It's known for its, I don't want to say gluten content because it is gluten-free, but it's starch content. Because it gets really rich, you can add it in creamy without adding any cream. Now, with that being said, we are going to add a little heavy cream at the end, and it's a 3-to-1 ratio when we go to cook this off. So first things first, we're going to start to melt down a tablespoon of butter. We're going to add a little bit of white onion. I got about half a white onion here. Now the whole idea is we want everything to cook, but we don't want to get any brown color on anything. And for this, I like using sliced garlic versus using the grated. I like how the flavor comes through. I like having nice chunks in there. That's about 3 cloves. And then we're going to add our shiitakes. So shiitakes a lot of times are used in a lot of different Asian recipes, a lot of different Japanese recipes. Okay, today we're actually going to use this in an Italian. They are lower in potassium. This is still considered a high potassium vegetable, so you do want to watch how much you use. I got about a cup here, but this is a cup that's going through a group of like 4 to 6 people. Okay, and we're just going to take a quick second. We're going to chop these down just a little bit more. We don't want them super fine. These are going to get rolled into balls, so we don't want any big chunks. Now we're going to add a touch of salt and black pepper. Okay, and like I said, I don't use salt very often. If you're on dialysis, your kidneys can't function as they should and filter out all the excess. So you just want to add a little bit. Okay, a little bit of salt, a little black pepper. And now we're going to add our arborio rice. By adding our arborio, it'll give it a chance to toast off, so that way you get the flavor through everything. And this is 1 cup. So when you think about it, we're adding 3 cups of stock to 1 cup of arborio. So it'll be more than enough for 4 to 6 people for service. Even if we weren't to make this into balls and just serve it as is, it'd still be delicious. We want to add a little time on the stock. Now I'm using chicken stock. You can use low sodium vegetable stock. And we want to slowly cook this in. We want to make sure that we're stirring this constantly so that way we don't get anything that sticks and burns to the bottom of the pot. We're cooking this over about medium-high heat. Okay, as you can see, we have our stock fully cooked in. The risotto, the arborio rice actually tripled in size, so we have a really nice amount here. We're now going to finish this off. We're going to use a little bit of heavy cream, about half a cup. Doesn't take a lot. A little Parmesan. And we're going to finish this off with just a little bit of parsley. This adds a nice little freshness to it. As you can see, the risotto's got nice, thick, and rich. Going to let this cook down just a little bit more. Let's just take a look at our carrots. Oh yeah, carrots are nice and soft. They're just about ready to get pureed. Okay, they're just slowly simmering away, which is exactly what we want. We want no caramelization on anything. Now what we want to do is we want to lay this our risotto out on a sheet tray just to let it cool as quick as possible. So we're going to take our risotto, lay it out so that way as it cools it'll actually tighten. And once it's completely cooled, we'll be able to actually take it, roll it into balls, and we're going to dredge it and bake them off. That way, when we go to take a bite out of them, they're going to be nice and creamy. You'll get a little bit of the flavor of the shiitake in there. They'll be rich and ready to go. Okay. So our arborio is ready. And you can see how thick this has gotten just in the cooking process. So we're going to spread this thin on this tray, give it a chance to cool off. So as you can see, we're laying this out so that way it'll cool quick. You know, we'll be able to make some really nice balls out of this. You could turn around and you could stuff them. You can make little meatballs. You could use actually shredded pork. There's so many different things you could do. And all we're going to do is once we ball up the risotto, is we're going to bread it and we're going to bake it. Set this aside. All right, guys, so we're going to take our carrots right here, already nice and soft. We'll put this right in our blender, liquid and all. Now we're going to make sure to take the center hole out of this cover, so just so that way, you know, the steam has someplace to go and the carrots don't blow up everywhere. Turn it on. So if it's a little bit tight, you can add just a little bit of hot water to it. That'll help to loosen it up. We're just trying to do a puree. We're not looking for an entire like mashed carrot or anything of that nature. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. All right, so this is our puree. Okay, as you can see, it's nice and thin. We did have to add a little bit of water to it. The chicken stock, the low sodium chicken stock, actually brought the flavor out of the carrots. The thyme, you could taste straight through it, and it's nice and sweet. Because we didn't caramelize anything, it stayed nice and sweet. So with that being said, let's get into our risotto. Now, for our risotto, I like to dredge our arancini balls. 3 dredge process. Always start with the flour, egg, and then breadcrumb. Okay, now we're just going to add just a pinch of salt, a little grind of black pepper to our flour, and just a little bit of pepper to our panko. We also have a little bit of thyme and a little bit of parsley in with our panko. So we want to just kind of whip our eggs a little bit, just to break them down. All right. Take a look at our risotto. As we can see, beautiful painting. As thick as it's gotten, all that starch is kind of stuck together. Even if we were to put this in the fridge overnight, it would get that much tighter. Now, me personally, when forming my arborio rice balls, I like to use 2 spoons. And check this out. Now, this is still a little warm. You can wait for this to be a little tighter. I'm just going to gently move it. Right into our egg. And into our breadcrumb. Voila. There we go. Now our arborio is still a little bit warm, so it could have used a little bit more chill time, but we still got some really nice breaded balls out of this. Okay, so we have our arancini balls all set, ready to go. We're going to pop them into a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. And we're just going to let them bake, and we're going to get started in with our port wine poached pears. Okay guys, now we're going to get our port wine poached pears started. So I got my 2 pears here. We're actually going to peel them, half them, and core them. I have my cinnamon, star anise, a little bit of ground ginger, and some brown sugar. And of course, I got 3 cups of port wine. So we're going to start by getting our liquids together. Okay, so I got my port wine. I'm just going to add all my aromatics in there. This way it gets to simmer together, and all the flavor will get into everything. Now this will take us about a half hour total to finish, and most of that is actually the poaching of the pears. So I like to peel them, that way you get the color, okay? And when you take the skin off, it actually helps all the flavor to come through. Now, I'm just using Bartlett's. You could use Asian pears if you want. They tend to take on the flavor very well. So we want to also make sure that we have our liquids getting hot. We want our pears to simmer in there just so we can cook all the flavor of the port wine into the pears, as well as get the flavor out of the cinnamon sticks and star anise. You can use fresh ginger instead of powdered. For this application, I do like the powdered just because it's already been mellowed a bit in the process. It's not as, doesn't come out across as pungent. Going to take our pears, split them in half. I'm just using a melon baller. Okay, I'm just taking out the center line of seeds. So I'm going to put these in my poaching liquid upside down. And this way the flavor can actually cook in and cook through. I'm going to give this about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to just give them a quick turn. So to go with this, we're actually going to pair it with a Chantilly cream. That's all it is a little heavy cream, touch of vanilla, Grand Marnier, and powdered sugar. Okay, now we're going to get started on our Chantilly cream. going to use about a half cup of heavy cream. We're not going to need a lot. Our confectioner sugar. Just a little touch of vanilla. You don't need too much. It will overpower. And of course, our Grand Marnier. And then all we want to do is we want to start whipping it together. You could smell the port wine and the poached pears coming together with the cinnamon. There we go, guys. Nice, thick, light Chantilly cream. Let's check our arancini balls. Oh yeah. Look at them bad boys. See that the breadcrumbs have started to brown. They're holding really, really, really nice. Look at that color. These guys are turning out beautifully. And there's enough moisture left in the risotto to keep things from burning. And now we're about to start plating. Nice little square for our arancini balls. And we got our white bowl that we're actually going to use for our pears. So there's a couple ways we could do this. I really want the pear to come through, so I'm using the Chantilly as actually a base. Oh yeah. Look at this, guys. These things are beautiful, soft, tender, and cooked through. Now you could chill these two and do them on top of a salad. You can actually serve them as a side, or you could actually use them to top duck. I've done poached pears over duck, which is really nice. Nice and simple. Port wine poached pear with Chantilly cream. And for our arancini balls, we have our delicious carrot puree. Just putting a little bit right in the middle. And now we have our delicious arancini balls with carrot puree. Enjoy. Thank you for joining us today on Cooking Without Kidneys. I'm so glad you were here to make with us our arancini balls over top of carrot puree, as well as our port wine poached pears. Join us next time when we play a little bit with salmon. Have a great day, everybody.